Hello, friends. If you're curious about the movie The Prosecutor, 2024, you're in the perfect place. Don't forget to give this video a quick like, it really helps us out. And if you're new here, hit subscribe to stay updated on all the latest movie deep dives. Let's jump right in. The legal world has always been a battleground where truth and justice clash with corruption and power, but The Prosecutor, 2024, takes this struggle to a whole new level. This gripping thriller throws us deep into the high-stakes world of a relentless prosecutor determined to expose a case that could shake the entire justice system to its core. A story filled with deception, moral dilemmas, and courtroom intensity, this film doesn't just tell a story, it challenges everything we think we know about justice. At first glance, The Prosecutor may seem like a traditional legal drama, but as the layers unfold, it becomes clear that this film is much more than a simple courtroom battle. It's a psychological chess game, a race against time, and a deep dive into the conscience of a man standing at the center of it all. With a tense atmosphere that keeps the audience on the edge of their seats, the film explores how one decision, one case, can change everything. We are introduced to the protagonist, a seasoned prosecutor who has built his career on integrity and an unwavering commitment to the law. But when he takes on a seemingly straightforward case involving a high-profile criminal, he quickly discovers that nothing is as it seems. The deeper he digs, the more dangerous the game becomes. The lines between right and wrong blur as he finds himself entangled in a conspiracy that reaches the highest levels of power. The case is no longer just about guilt or innocence, it's about survival. From the moment the film begins, the tension is palpable. Every scene is packed with weight, every conversation feels like a ticking time bomb, and every character harbors secrets that could change the course of the story. The courtroom scenes aren't just legal debates, they are battles of intellect and strategy, where every argument could mean the difference between justice and a cover-up. But beyond the legal twists and shocking revelations, The Prosecutor dives into the psychology of its main character. As the film progresses, we see his beliefs and morals tested like never before. He begins questioning his own past cases, wondering if he's been a pawn in a much larger game all along. The weight of the truth becomes unbearable, and the pressure mounts as he must decide how far he's willing to go to expose the corruption at play. The film doesn't hold back in its intensity. Political intrigue, backroom deals, and moral compromises lurk around every corner. The protagonist soon realizes that the forces against him will stop at nothing to silence him. His closest allies become liabilities, and trust becomes the rarest currency. The audience is left questioning, who can he trust? And more importantly, will he make it out alive? One of the standout aspects of The Prosecutor is how it masterfully builds suspense. The slow-burn tension makes every piece of evidence feel crucial, every witness testimony a potential game-changer. And just when the audience thinks they have it all figured out, the film delivers a twist that turns everything upside down. The true culprit isn't who we expect, and the real danger doesn't come from the courtroom, it comes from the shadows lurking outside of it. With stunning cinematography capturing the cold, sterile atmosphere of courtrooms and dimly lit corridors of power, the film creates a visual experience that mirrors its dark and twisted narrative. The sound design keeps the pulse racing, ensuring that silence is just as powerful as dialogue. And the performances? Absolutely riveting. In the end, The Prosecutor is more than just a thriller. It's a mirror held up to society, reflecting the harsh realities of corruption, justice, and the cost of truth. It leaves the audience not just entertained but unsettled, making them question how much of this story is fiction and how much might be closer to reality than we'd like to admit. So, buckle up. Because this movie doesn't just tell a story, it pulls you into its world, and once you're in, there's no looking away. The city buzzed with its usual rhythm, courtrooms packed with tense faces, journalists circling like vultures, and the quiet hum of conversations in government offices where deals were made behind closed doors. But none of that mattered to Ethan Carter, a prosecutor who had built his reputation on being incorruptible. His name was synonymous with justice, a man who had taken down criminals who thought themselves untouchable. Then came the case that would change everything. It started as an open and shut trial. A high-profile businessman, Daniel Hawthorne, was accused of orchestrating a massive financial fraud. The evidence was overwhelming: bank records, testimonies, wire transfers. Carter was ready to present his case, confident that Hawthorne would spend the rest of his life behind bars. But something didn't sit right. There was a pattern in the transactions, a missing link in the timeline that no one seemed to be questioning. That was the first crack in the facade. One evening, as Carter sat alone in his office, drowning in case files and late-night coffee, his phone buzzed with an unknown number. Normally, he would ignore it, but something compelled him to answer. The voice on the other end was shaky, desperate. A woman, claiming to have information that could change everything, whispered, "You're looking at the wrong person." Before he could respond, the line went dead. Curiosity turned into obsession. Carter dug deeper, revisiting old files, cross-checking statements. He found inconsistencies, tiny details that had gone unnoticed, but now they screamed for attention. Witnesses had recanted testimonies before trial. Financial records had been altered. But by whom? And why? The more he searched, the darker the path became. A colleague warned him to let it go. "This case isn't what you think it is," they muttered before quickly walking away. But Carter was never one to back down. Then, his apartment was broken into. Nothing was stolen, but his files were scattered, some missing. It wasn't a random burglary. It was a warning. Determined, he arranged a secret meeting with the woman who had called him. A dimly lit parking garage, late at night. She appeared from the shadows, hooded, looking over her shoulder as if someone were watching. She told him about a cover-up. That Hawthorne was just a pawn, that the real orchestrators of the fraud were far more powerful than he imagined. Politicians, law enforcement, people who could make anyone disappear. She handed him a USB drive, her hands shaking. "This will show you the truth," she whispered before slipping away into the darkness. Carter hesitated before plugging it into his laptop. The screen flickered, revealing hidden transactions, shell companies, anonymous deposits that led to one unsettling truth: this wasn't just financial fraud. It was a front for something bigger, something sinister. Just as he began piecing it together, his office door burst open. A team of investigators stormed in. They had a warrant. For him. Accusations of tampering with evidence, unethical conduct. He was being framed. Handcuffed and escorted out of the building, Carter locked eyes with the judge overseeing the case. There was no surprise in the judge's expression. Just quiet acceptance. As if this had been inevitable. The cold metal of the handcuffs bit into Ethan Carter's wrists as he was shoved into the back of the police car. The flashing red and blue lights reflected off the rain-slicked streets, distorting the reality of his situation. A prosecutor, once the city's champion of justice, was now the accused. The weight of the frame-up pressed against his chest, but his mind was already racing, trying to find a way out. The ride to the precinct was silent. The officers escorting him avoided eye contact, their faces unreadable. Someone powerful had orchestrated this, someone who knew exactly how the system worked. He was fingerprinted, his mugshot taken, and then thrown into a holding cell with nothing but his thoughts. The irony wasn't lost on him. He had put criminals in cages just like this one. Now, he was the one behind bars. Hours passed before his attorney, Sarah Whitmore, stormed into the precinct. She was furious, demanding to see the evidence against him. But when the officers laid out their case, Carter knew they had been thorough. A falsified bank account in his name. Deposits linked to tampered evidence in the Hawthorne case. His fingerprints on documents he had never seen before. It was airtight. The hearing was scheduled within days. They wanted him taken down fast before he had time to fight back. But Carter wasn't alone. Sarah, relentless as ever, started digging. And then came the first break, A low-level financial analyst from one of the shell companies tied to the fraud case reached out, anonymously. He had information, but he was scared. Too many people had already disappeared. Sarah arranged a secret meeting. Carter, now out on bail, arrived at a secluded motel off the highway. The analyst was young, jittery, glancing over his shoulder every few seconds. He revealed that the fraud wasn't just about embezzling money. It was tied to a network of offshore accounts funding illegal operations. Drug trafficking, arms deals, political bribery. The kind of scandal that could bring down senators and CEOs alike. And at the center of it all was Judge Raymond Alden, the very man presiding over Carter's trial. The revelation hit like a gut punch. The judge had been maneuvering behind the scenes, eliminating threats, covering up evidence. Carter's case against Daniel Hawthorne had gotten too close to the truth. They needed him discredited, out of the picture. The motel door burst open before the analyst could say more. Gunfire erupted, shattering glass and sending debris flying. Carter dove behind the bed, pulling the analyst down with him. But it was too late. A bullet found its mark, silencing the whistleblower forever. Carter grabbed the man's phone, hoping it held something useful, and escaped through the bathroom window as more shots rang out. He and Sarah regrouped at a safe house, their nerves rattled but their resolve stronger than ever. The phone contained encrypted files, bank transactions, messages implicating powerful figures. But they needed proof that the judge himself was involved. The only way was to access his personal records. Carter had spent years prosecuting criminals, but now he had to think like one. With Sarah's help, he orchestrated a break-in at Alden's private law firm. The office was empty, but security was tight. They bypassed alarms, rifling through file cabinets and computers. And then, jackpot, a ledger hidden inside a locked drawer. Names, dates, amounts. A direct link between Alden and the offshore accounts. The evidence was damning, but they were running out of time. The next day, Carter's trial was set to begin. Alden would ensure a swift conviction unless they exposed him first. The morning of the trial, Sarah made her move. She sent the encrypted files and the ledger to multiple news outlets, ensuring the information would go public. At the same time, Carter walked into the courthouse, ready to face Alden one last time. The trial started as expected, with the prosecution painting him as a corrupt official. But then the news broke. Phones buzzed in the courtroom. Whispers spread. The judge's face paled as reporters outside the courthouse broadcast the evidence against him. Police officers entered the chamber, and for the first time, Alden was the one being escorted away in handcuffs. With the truth exposed, the charges against Carter were dropped. He stepped outside into the daylight, free but changed. The city still had corruption lurking in its shadows, but for now, justice had won. Ethan Carter had always been a man defined by his convictions. As a prosecutor, he built his career on the unwavering belief that justice must be served, no matter the cost. But justice, as he learned the hard way, wasn't always black and white. The system he fought to protect had turned against him, forcing him to become something he never imagined, a fugitive in search of his own truth. Carter's transformation throughout the story is one of resilience. In the beginning, he operates within the strict lines of the law, trusting the institutions meant to uphold order. His reputation is built on sharp intellect, unshakable integrity, and a deep sense of duty. But when he's framed, his world shatters. The very system he once commanded now labels him the criminal. It's a devastating fall from grace, but Carter doesn't break. He adapts. He learns to navigate the world beyond the courtroom, relying not just on legal knowledge but on instinct, deception, and a newfound willingness to bend the rules in pursuit of a greater truth. Sarah Whitmore is the fire that keeps Carter from crumbling. As his defense attorney and closest ally, she refuses to accept his downfall. Sarah is not just a legal mind, she's a fighter. Where Carter begins his journey clinging to law and order, Sarah understands the game is far more twisted. She knows that to defeat corruption, one must be willing to challenge the very structure of power. She is fearless, relentless, and willing to take risks that Carter wouldn't have dared at the start of his ordeal. Their dynamic is one of contrasts, his caution versus her boldness, his logical approach versus her willingness to trust her gut. But together, they strike a perfect balance. Judge Raymond Alden is the embodiment of the darkness hiding beneath the surface of the legal system. Outwardly, he's a respected figure, a symbol of law and authority. But beneath the polished exterior lies a master manipulator, someone who has built his career on controlling outcomes rather than ensuring justice. His ability to orchestrate Carter's downfall is proof of his power. He operates not through brute force, but through calculated deception, pulling strings that no one even knew existed. His undoing comes not from arrogance, but from underestimating the people he sought to destroy. Daniel Hawthorne, the case that starts it all, serves as the ghost that haunts Carter throughout his journey. He isn't just another criminal Carter prosecuted, he is the catalyst for the conspiracy that unravels. Hawthorne is a man who understood the system's weaknesses, exploiting them for years. When he becomes the key to something much bigger, he shifts from being a villain in Carter's eyes to an unexpected thread in the larger tapestry of corruption. His guilt may be undeniable, but he represents something far more complex, the blurred lines between crime and the law, and how easily the two can become intertwined. The anonymous financial analyst who tries to help Carter is perhaps the film's most tragic figure. A man who stumbled upon a truth too big for him to handle, he represents the cost of uncovering corruption. He has no power, no protection, only fear. Yet, despite knowing the risks, he reaches out, attempting to tip the scales toward justice. His fate is a brutal reminder that, in a world of shadows and secrets, truth is often paid for in blood. Each of these characters plays a role in shaping Carter's evolution. He begins the story as a man who believes in fighting within the system, but by the end, he understands that sometimes justice requires stepping outside of it. His journey isn't just about clearing his name, it's about exposing the truth, no matter the cost. And in doing so, he doesn't just reclaim his own life. He forces a reckoning that shakes the very foundations of power. During the making of The Prosecutor, 2024, the production was anything but ordinary. From unexpected on-set surprises to bizarre coincidences, the journey of bringing this intense legal thriller to life was filled with moments that could have been their own mystery story. One of the strangest things that happened during filming was the sudden disappearance of an important prop, an original legal document used in a key courtroom scene. The prop master had placed it securely in a locked cabinet, only to find it missing the next morning. The entire crew searched every corner of the set, but the document had vanished. It wasn't until a week later, when filming moved to a different location, that the missing pages mysteriously reappeared, inside the judge's desk on the courtroom set, a place they had already checked multiple times. No one could explain how it got there, and to this day, some of the crew jokingly blame the ghost of justice for playing tricks on them. Another eerie incident involved lead actor Ethan Carter's office scenes. The production team had rented a real law firm's office to shoot key moments where Carter, played by the lead actor, is working late into the night. On multiple occasions, computers in the office would turn on by themselves, and strange glitches would appear on screens even though they weren't connected to any power source. One night, a monitor displayed an old case file, one that wasn't even in the script. The tech crew tried to figure out how it happened, but no logical explanation was ever found. The actors embraced the mystery, joking that the film itself was bringing out hidden truths. Then there was the case of the disappearing gavel. During the climactic courtroom showdown, the judge's gavel, a custom-made piece designed specifically for the film, went missing just before shooting one of the most intense scenes. The director, already under pressure to keep production on schedule, was convinced someone had misplaced it. A replacement was found, and filming continued. But weeks later, the original gavel was found in the trunk of one of the production assistant's cars, wrapped in a cloth, as if someone had intentionally hidden it. The assistant swore they had never seen it before. Theories ranged from simple forgetfulness to an elaborate prank, but the mystery was never solved. One of the most talked-about moments on set involved a scene where Carter's character is being followed. The sequence was meant to be intense, with the camera capturing a sense of paranoia as he navigates a crowded city street. But during filming, the crew noticed an unknown figure in the background, watching from a distance. At first, they thought it was just an extra or a passerby. But after reviewing the footage, they realized that the same man had appeared in multiple takes, standing in the exact same spot, never moving. When security was sent to check, the figure had vanished. The cast and crew laughed it off as a coincidence, but some couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that someone had been watching their production a little too closely. Adding to the film's eerie aura, the shoot was briefly delayed when the lead actor suffered a minor but bizarre injury. While filming a scene where his character rushes through a courthouse hallway, he tripped over absolutely nothing. Surveillance footage from the set later showed that there was no obstruction. No wires, no objects, just an empty hallway. "It was like something grabbed my foot," he later said in an interview. It became an inside joke that the film was so realistic that even unseen forces wanted to keep the case unsolved. Beyond the strange occurrences, the movie also had its share of unusual production challenges. The final courtroom scene, which was meant to be shot over 2 days, ended up taking 5 due to an unexpected interruption. The power went out in the entire building, despite no recorded outages in the area. When electricians arrived, they found that the breaker had been physically flipped, but no one on set had been near it. To add to the oddness, when power was restored, several cameras that had been recording suddenly showed corrupted footage. The director decided to embrace the strange energy and joked that it was a sign they were making something truly groundbreaking. One of the more amusing but bizarre moments came when the lead actor, known for his dedication to realism, spent a week shadowing an actual prosecutor to prepare for the role. During a real trial, he observed, a defendant suddenly pointed at him and yelled, "That guy is following me." The courtroom burst into laughter, but the moment was strangely fitting, considering the movie's themes of surveillance and hidden motives. The film also had an unusual connection to real-life cases. While researching legal procedures for the movie, the writers stumbled upon an actual case that bore striking similarities to the film's fictional plot. A prosecutor accused of a crime he didn't commit, who later uncovered a deeper conspiracy within the justice system. It was so eerily close to their script that the production team briefly worried about potential legal issues. In the end, they decided to proceed, believing that truth often mirrors fiction in the strangest ways. And speaking of reality blending with fiction, one of the film's extras turned out to be more connected to the story than anyone expected. During a scene set in a newsroom, a journalist character is seen reporting on the protagonist's case. The actor playing the reporter was a last-minute replacement, brought in just hours before shooting. After filming, she revealed to the crew that she was, in fact, a real journalist who had covered high-profile corruption cases in her career. She had no idea what the film was about when she took the job, and only realized the eerie coincidence after reading her lines. Even the music in The Prosecutor had its own strange backstory. The composer, known for his meticulous work, was experimenting with soundscapes when he recorded an eerie, whisper-like noise that he hadn't intended to include. It was only during post-production that he realized the sound resembled a distorted voice, almost as if someone was speaking. No one could figure out how it got there, and though they ultimately removed it from the final score, some crew members still claim they hear faint whispers in the soundtrack if they listen closely enough. Despite all the bizarre and unexplained events that surrounded the making of The Prosecutor, the film ultimately came together as one of the most gripping legal thrillers of the year. The strange occurrences only added to its mystique, making it a production that many on the crew would never forget. Some believed the film was simply cursed with an unusual amount of coincidences. Others thought it was something more, a sign that justice, in one way or another, always finds its way into the light. The courtroom stands still, thick with tension. Every eye in the room is locked onto the man at the center of it all, the prosecutor. His face, once a symbol of justice, now carries the weight of 1,000 accusations. The gavel strikes. The air crackles with the kind of silence that can only mean one thing: something irreversible is about to happen. From its opening moments, The Prosecutor, 2024, immerses viewers in a world of power, deception, and the ever-elusive search for truth. It's not just a legal thriller, it's a psychological and moral battleground, where justice isn't merely handed down but fought for, twisted, and sometimes even lost. Every key event in the film serves a purpose, whether it's to pull the audience deeper into the protagonist's struggle or to shatter their expectations with shocking twists. But beyond the plot, The Prosecutor holds a mirror to the justice system itself, raising questions that linger long after the credits roll. One of the film's most striking moments comes early on, when Ethan Carter, the ambitious, unshakable prosecutor, finds himself in an interrogation room, not as the man asking the questions, but as the one struggling to answer them. It's a brilliant reversal of roles, forcing both the character and the audience to confront the fragility of power. Up until this point, Carter is presented as a man who thrives on control, someone who bends the courtroom to his will. But now, with the cold glare of the interrogation light bearing down on him, he is exposed. Vulnerable. This scene is more than just a dramatic turning point. It is a commentary on the fine line between authority and accountability. How quickly can a man go from being the enforcer of the law to its victim? How does perception shape reality? The film forces us to consider the unsettling idea that justice is not always about what's true, but about what can be proven or manipulated. As Carter digs deeper into the allegations against him, another pivotal sequence unfolds, a late-night break-in at his office. The cinematography here is masterful, employing shadows and minimal lighting to create an atmosphere of paranoia. Carter enters cautiously, the sound of his own breathing filling the silence. Papers are scattered, files missing. And then, a subtle detail. His coffee mug, which he left untouched that morning, now has a faint ring of moisture at the base. Someone was here. Someone was watching. The brilliance of this moment isn't just in its execution, but in what it represents. The unseen force working against Carter isn't just a physical threat. It is the embodiment of the faceless, systemic power that lurks behind the justice system. The very institution he once upheld is now an invisible enemy, stripping him of his sense of security one detail at a time. This scene taps into a universal fear, the idea that no matter how powerful we think we are all vulnerable to forces beyond our control. But The Prosecutor isn't just about fear and paranoia. It is also about resilience. One of the most emotionally charged sequences in the film comes when Carter, now at his lowest point, meets with an old mentor, a retired judge who once guided him early in his career. The conversation is understated but powerful. The mentor reminds him of why he pursued justice in the first place, but also delivers a hard truth. Justice isn't about innocence. It's about who tells the better story. This single line encapsulates the film's entire thesis. Truth in the courtroom is often secondary to perception. Facts can be arranged like chess pieces, and narratives can be built or destroyed with a well-placed argument. The film suggests that the justice system, for all its ideals, is still a battlefield where power dictates outcomes. Carter leaves the conversation with renewed resolve, but the audience is left uneasy. If justice is just another game of strategy, then who really wins? As the case against him builds momentum, the film introduces a shocking revelation, one that flips everything the audience thought they knew. The real orchestrator of the plot against Carter isn't a political rival or a career criminal. It's someone from within his own circle. This twist is delivered in a way that doesn't just surprise, it unsettles. The betrayal is personal, cutting deeper than any legal charge ever could. What makes this moment so powerful is the way it challenges the very nature of trust. Throughout the film, Carter has been fighting against an external enemy. But now, he realizes that the threat has always been close. The film subtly suggests that corruption isn't just something that exists in dark corners. It can be found in places we least expect, even among those we believe to be on the side of justice. This revelation leads to the film's climactic courtroom showdown. The atmosphere is electric, the stakes at their highest. Carter, once confident and commanding in this very setting, now stands as a man with everything to lose. The opposing counsel presents a case so airtight, so meticulously constructed, that for a moment it seems impossible for Carter to escape, but then, in a masterful stroke of legal maneuvering, Carter finds the single loose thread in the case against him. A detail so small that it was overlooked, but one that unravels the entire conspiracy. The way this moment plays out is nothing short of exhilarating. The camera work tightens, the pacing quickens, the dialogue becomes razor-sharp. And when Carter delivers the final, devastating blow, exposing the lies, the manipulation, the corruption, the silence that follows is deafening. Yet, even in victory, the film does not offer a clean resolution. The damage has been done. The system remains flawed. And Carter, though vindicated, is not the same man he once was. The film's final shot, a lingering image of him standing outside the courthouse, looking back, leaves the audience with an unresolved question. Has justice truly been served, or has he simply learned to play the game better than his enemies? What makes The Prosecutor resonate so deeply is its refusal to offer easy answers. Every major event in the film is designed not just to move the plot forward, but to challenge the audience's perception of truth and morality. It doesn't just ask who is guilty, but what does guilt even mean in a system that thrives on narratives? The film's impact extends beyond its gripping story. This, ultimately, is what makes The Prosecutor more than just a courtroom drama. It is a film that forces its viewers to engage, to question, and to re-examine their own beliefs about law, power, and truth. It doesn't just tell a story, it demands to be reckoned with. And long after the final verdict is delivered, its echoes remain. The making of The Prosecutor, 2024, was just as gripping as the film itself, filled with intense dedication, creative breakthroughs, and unexpected challenges that tested the resolve of everyone involved. From the earliest stages of pre-production to the final edits, every decision made was a carefully calculated step toward crafting a film that would leave audiences on the edge of their seats. But as with any ambitious project, the journey was far from smooth. What unfolded behind the scenes was a battle of its own, a relentless pursuit of perfection that mirrored the very themes the film explored. The project began with a script so layered and intricate that it took months of revisions before it was ready for filming. The screenwriters worked closely with actual legal experts to ensure that the courtroom scenes felt as authentic as possible. Every line of dialogue was scrutinized, every argument was structured to hold up not just in the world of fiction but in the real legal system. One of the film's writers, a former prosecutor himself, admitted that some of the most intense scenes were drawn from actual cases he had worked on. Truth, he said, is often stranger than fiction. Some of the wildest twists in this film? They're closer to reality than you might think. But getting the law right was only one part of the challenge. The next hurdle was casting. The role of Ethan Carter, the protagonist, required an actor who could carry immense emotional weight while maintaining an air of sharp intellect. The casting team auditioned several A-list actors before landing on their lead, an actor known for his ability to convey depth without saying much at all. In fact, one of the defining moments of the film, where Carter realizes the full scope of the conspiracy against him, was originally scripted with several lines of dialogue. But during filming, the director decided to strip the moment down, relying solely on the actor's expression. The result? A single close-up that says more than words ever could. The supporting cast was equally crucial, particularly for the antagonist, a character shrouded in mystery until the final act. The filmmakers wanted someone who could command authority but also hide layers of deceit beneath a seemingly trustworthy exterior. The actor cast in this role was so convincing that even the crew felt uneasy around him between takes. One of the makeup artists joked that she always made sure not to turn her back on him, even when she knew he was just getting into character. Once the cast was locked in, the team moved on to production design. The courtroom itself became a character in the film, designed to be both imposing and claustrophobic. The walls were lined with dark wood to give a sense of power and history, but the lighting was deliberately harsh, making every witness, every defendant, and even Carter himself appear exposed under its glare. The cinematographer played a significant role in enhancing this effect, using angles that shifted subtly as the story progressed. Early in the film, Carter is often framed in wide, commanding shots, showcasing his control over his world. But as the case against him builds, the camera tightens, trapping him in the frame, emphasizing his growing isolation. One of the most intense sequences to film was the late-night break-in scene, where Carter discovers that someone has been in his office, going through his files. The challenge? The scene relied almost entirely on atmosphere. There was no dramatic music, no sudden jump scares, just the slow, creeping realization that something was very wrong. To achieve this, the crew used practical effects, including hidden air vents that created barely perceptible movements in the papers on Carter's desk. These small details heightened the tension, making the audience feel the presence of an unseen force just beyond the frame. And then there were the unplanned moments, the kind that can't be scripted but end up shaping the final product in unexpected ways. In one scene, Carter is delivering an impassioned closing argument when, in the middle of his speech, a light fixture on set flickered. Normally, this would have been a ruined take. But instead of stopping, the actor incorporated it into his performance, using it as a moment of hesitation, a pause that made the speech even more powerful. The director loved it so much that it stayed in the final cut. Of course, no film production is without its challenges. One of the biggest obstacles came during an exterior courthouse scene. The production was granted permission to shoot outside an actual government building, but just as filming began, an unexpected protest broke out a few blocks away. The sound of chanting and sirens kept disrupting takes, forcing the crew to adapt on the fly. In the end, rather than fight against it, they used it, rewriting part of the scene to include the distant noise of a city in turmoil, adding another layer of realism to the world they were building. The post-production phase was just as meticulous as the shoot itself. The editing team worked tirelessly to balance the film's pacing, ensuring that every revelation landed with maximum impact. The score played a crucial role in this. Composed with a mix of classical orchestration and modern electronic elements, it underscored the tension without overwhelming it. The final musical piece that plays over the end credits was actually composed last minute, inspired by a single, unscripted moment captured on set even before its release. The Prosecutor was generating buzz, not just for its gripping story but for the incredible amount of work that had gone into its making. The dedication of the cast and crew, the attention to detail, and the willingness to embrace both planned and unplanned moments all contributed to a film that feels as real as it does thrilling. Every scene, every performance, every line of dialogue serves a purpose, drawing the audience into a world where justice is not just about law, but about power, perception, and the very nature of truth itself. The world of The Prosecutor, 2024, is one of precision, tension, and hidden truths, reflected not only in the characters and story but also in the very fabric of its setting and cinematic elements. Every location, every shadow, and every flickering light has been carefully designed to serve the film's gripping narrative, pulling the audience deeper into its world. The film's atmosphere is not just created through words or performances but through a meticulously crafted visual language that heightens the suspense, enhances the realism, and ensures that every frame is charged with meaning. At the heart of the film's setting is the courthouse, a towering symbol of justice that, as the story unfolds, begins to feel more like a battleground. The filmmakers chose to use an actual historic courthouse rather than a studio-built set, ensuring that the weight of real-world history seeped into every scene. The architecture of the building, with its grand marble hallways and high ceilings, gives the impression of authority and permanence. But as Carter's case spirals out of control, those same halls begin to feel cold and uninviting, turning from a place of justice into a labyrinth of power plays and deception. The use of wide-angle shots in the early courtroom scenes makes the space feel vast, emphasizing Carter's initial confidence. However, as the trial progresses, the camera slowly tightens, focusing more on details. The sweat on a witness's forehead, the clenched jaw of a juror, subtly creating a sense of claustrophobia, as though the walls themselves are closing in. Beyond the courthouse, the city itself plays a crucial role in the film. Unlike many legal thrillers that take place in high-rise offices and polished boardrooms, The Prosecutor presents a grittier, more lived-in world. Carter's office, for instance, is a stark contrast to the pristine law firms typically depicted in Hollywood. His workspace is cluttered but functional, filled with old case files, half-drunk cups of coffee, and a single flickering desk lamp that casts long shadows across the room. This space serves as both a sanctuary and a trap, where Carter strategizes but also where he begins to realize just how deep the conspiracy runs. The lighting here is intentionally dim, with cool-toned blues and grays that add to the feeling of isolation. Even in moments of supposed quiet, the city outside hums with distant sirens and the occasional flicker of headlights through the blinds, reinforcing the idea that danger is never too far away. One of the most visually striking sequences in the film takes place during a late-night chase through a rain-soaked alleyway. The decision to shoot this scene practically, rather than relying on CGI rain, added an undeniable texture to the visuals. The water glistening on the pavement, the mist rising from sewer grates, and the way the neon lights of passing cars reflect off wet surfaces all contribute to a heightened sense of realism. The cinematographer used handheld cameras during this sequence, making the audience feel the immediacy of Carter's desperation. Each shaky movement and sudden shift in focus mirrors the chaos of the moment, making viewers feel as though they, too, are running for their lives. Color plays a significant role throughout the film, subtly guiding the audience's emotions. In the beginning, the color palette is neutral, relying on browns, grays, and muted blues, colors that suggest professionalism and order. But as the stakes rise, the colors shift. Warmer tones of orange and red start creeping into key scenes, signaling tension and danger. The final act, particularly the climactic courtroom showdown, is bathed in a mixture of deep shadows and stark white lighting, visually representing the clash between hidden corruption and the search for truth. Cinematography aside, sound design plays an equally crucial role in crafting the film's atmosphere. Unlike action-heavy thrillers where music dictates the pacing, The Prosecutor relies on subtle audio cues to build tension. The creak of a wooden chair, the ticking of a clock in an otherwise silent courtroom, the faint rustle of papers as a witness hesitates before answering, all these details contribute to an ever-present sense of unease. The score itself is minimalist, composed primarily of string arrangements that swell at just the right moments. But some of the most powerful scenes feature no music at all, relying solely on the weight of silence to let the drama unfold. A particularly chilling moment occurs when Carter enters his office late at night, only to realize that something is off. The filmmakers deliberately muted all background noise, no cars passing, no distant voices, just absolute, deafening silence. This absence of sound makes the viewer instinctively uneasy, as if they, too, are holding their breath, waiting for something to happen. When the silence is finally broken by the soft creak of a door hinge, it lands with the force of a gunshot. Lighting is another key component in defining the film's tone. Natural lighting is used whenever possible, grounding the film in realism. The courtroom, for instance, is illuminated by large windows, allowing natural daylight to shift throughout the course of the trial, subtly marking the passage of time. However, in moments of high tension, artificial lighting is used to create contrast. Overhead fluorescents that cast harsh shadows, single desk lamps that illuminate only half a face, emphasizing moral ambiguity. One of the most visually striking moments occurs during a nighttime interrogation scene, where the only light source is a flickering neon sign from outside. The pulsing red and blue glow washes over Carter's face, symbolizing both the danger he is in and the thin line he is walking between justice and corruption. The choice of locations outside of the courthouse also adds depth to the narrative. Rather than depicting Carter's home as a place of solace, the filmmakers made it just as visually unsettling as the rest of the film. His apartment is sparsely furnished, filled with case files and legal texts, reinforcing the idea that his work is his life. The lighting here is always slightly dim, casting long shadows across the walls, mirroring his inner turmoil. Even the simple act of pouring a drink at his kitchen counter feels heavy, as the camera lingers on his shaking hands and the quiet sound of ice cubes clinking against glass. But for all its meticulous cinematography and sound design, One of the most effective elements of The Prosecutor is its use of perspective. Many scenes are shot from Carter's point of view, placing the audience directly in his shoes. When he is being watched, we see the world through his paranoid gaze, glimpses of figures in reflections, shadows moving just out of sight. When he pieces together a crucial part of the case, the editing mimics the rush of realization, cutting rapidly between fragments of past conversations, photographs, and courtroom exchanges. These stylistic choices not only immerse the audience in the story but also make them feel the same anxiety, the same urgency that drives Carter forward. In the end, the cinematic elements of The Prosecutor are what transform it from a simple legal drama into an immersive, psychological experience. The way light shifts, the way silence lingers, the way the camera subtly tightens around Carter as his world collapses, all these details work in harmony to pull the viewer deeper into the film's world. By the time the credits roll, the audience has not just watched a story unfold, they've felt it, lived it, breathed it. And that, more than anything, is the mark of a film crafted with precision, intent, and undeniable artistry. The making of The Prosecutor, 2024, was just as intense, unpredictable, and gripping as the film itself. What began as a carefully planned production soon turned into a battle against time, unforeseen challenges, and the unpredictable nature of filmmaking. But through it all, the cast and crew remained resilient, their dedication to the story shining through in every frame. From unexpected on-set surprises to last-minute script changes and unforgettable bonding moments among the cast, the journey of bringing The Prosecutor to life was nothing short of extraordinary. One of the first surprises came even before filming officially began. The original courthouse location, carefully scouted for its grand architecture and atmospheric lighting, fell through just days before shooting was set to start. The production team scrambled to find an alternative that could capture the same imposing grandeur. After an exhaustive search, they secured a historic courthouse with even more character than the original choice. One of the most striking pieces of symbolism reinforcing this theme is the recurring image of the courthouse itself. Filmed in a towering historic building with grand columns and marble floors, it initially stands as a symbol of authority and righteousness. But as Carter's case spirals into darker territory, the once majestic courthouse begins to feel suffocating. The same halls that once felt like a temple of justice now seem like a labyrinth of bureaucracy, corruption, and hidden agendas. The lighting in these scenes changes subtly. Early in the film, the courthouse is bathed in warm, golden light, evoking a sense of dignity. But as Carter's doubts grow, the lighting shifts to colder, more sterile tones, emphasizing his growing disillusionment. Truth and deception form another central theme in The Prosecutor, playing out not just in the courtroom, but in every interaction between characters. The film constantly forces the audience to question what they believe to be true. Testimonies contradict each other. Evidence appears and disappears. Characters who seem trustworthy are revealed to have their own motives, while those written off as liars may hold the key to everything. The very structure of the film mirrors this uncertainty. Just when the audience feels certain of one fact, a new revelation turns everything on its head. One of the most powerful visual symbols of this theme is the shattered mirror in Carter's office. Early in the film, during a particularly tense moment, he throws a glass against the wall in frustration. The mirror behind it cracks, leaving a spiderweb of fractures distorting his reflection. The broken mirror remains in the background of several key scenes, a silent reminder that Carter himself is fractured, his confidence in the truth slowly crumbling. By the time the film reaches its climax, he no longer sees his own reflection clearly. Just like the case he's working on, his perception of reality is fragmented. The theme of power, who has it, who abuses it, and who suffers because of it, is also woven deeply into the film. The antagonist, a powerful figure with deep connections, operates in a world where wealth and influence can bend the law. He is not portrayed as a typical villain. There are no dramatic outbursts, no overt threats. Instead, his power is quiet, insidious. A single phone call from him can make evidence disappear. A subtle conversation can turn a reliable witness into an unreliable one. He exists as a reminder that the justice system is not always about right and wrong. it is often about who has the power to shape the narrative. One particularly striking use of symbolism tied to this theme is the recurring motif of doors. Throughout the film, Carter is constantly moving through doors, opening them, closing them, sometimes finding them locked. In one key scene, he stands before a massive ornate door leading to a judge's chamber, preparing to argue for crucial evidence to be admitted. The door looms over him, making him seem small and powerless in comparison. Later in the film, as he begins to uncover the truth, another door, a much simpler, unassuming one, leads him to the breakthrough that changes everything. The contrast between these doors reinforces the idea that power often hides behind grandeur and wealth, while truth can sometimes be found in the most unexpected places. The film also explores the cost of pursuing justice. For Carter, uncovering the truth is not just a professional duty, it becomes an obsession. As he gets closer to the answer, he begins to lose pieces of himself. His relationships suffer. His reputation is attacked. His physical and mental health deteriorate under the weight of the case. He is forced to make impossible choices, risking everything for a chance at justice. This idea is visually represented through Carter's clothing. At the start of the film, he is always impeccably dressed, his suits pressed, his ties perfectly knotted. But as the case drags on, his appearance begins to change. His suits become slightly wrinkled. His tie is loosened. By the film's climax, he is no longer wearing a tie at all, and his once structured appearance is now disheveled. It is a subtle but effective way of showing how the pursuit of truth has stripped him down, leaving him raw and exposed. Another powerful theme in The Prosecutor is redemption, not just in a legal sense, but on a deeply personal level. Several characters struggle with past mistakes, trying to right wrongs in their own ways. For Carter, redemption means proving that justice can still prevail, even when the system seems stacked against him. For another key character, a witness who initially refuses to testify, redemption means finally finding the courage to speak the truth, even at great personal risk. This theme is echoed in the film's use of light and darkness. At the beginning of the film, Carter's office is dimly lit, with shadows stretching across the walls, mirroring his uncertainty and doubt. But in the final scenes, after he has made his stand and the truth is revealed, the lighting shifts. His office is now filled with natural daylight, symbolizing clarity, redemption, and the hope that, despite everything, justice may still be possible. Even the film's soundtrack plays into its themes. The score starts off composed of deep, steady tones, reflecting Carter's initial confidence in the system. But as the story progresses and the weight of the case begins to press down on him, the music becomes more chaotic, with dissonant notes creeping in. By the climax, the score is a tense, pulsing heartbeat, mirroring the uncertainty of whether justice will be served. And in the final moments, as the truth is revealed, the music resolves, no longer chaotic, but not entirely peaceful either, reflecting the film's ultimate message. Justice is never simple, and the fight for it is never without consequence. The Prosecutor is not just a film about a legal battle. It is a meditation on truth, power, and morality. Every symbol, every visual cue, and every narrative choice reinforces these themes, creating a story that resonates far beyond the confines of the courtroom. It leaves the audience not with easy answers, but with lingering questions about the world we live in, the justice we seek, and the price we are willing to pay to uncover the truth. The Prosecutor, 2024, is more than just a legal thriller. It is a masterclass in filmmaking, where every camera angle, lighting choice, and musical cue has been carefully crafted to immerse the audience in its tense and morally complex world. The film's director, known for his meticulous attention to detail, created an experience that pulls the viewer deep into the courtroom, the backroom dealings, and the psychological turmoil of the characters. Every frame, every cut, and every sound was deliberately chosen to enhance the film's emotional weight, making it not just a movie, but an experience that lingers in the mind long after the credits roll. One of the most striking filmmaking techniques in The Prosecutor is its use of cinematography to convey power dynamics and emotional shifts. In the courtroom, the camera work is methodical and steady, often using long, slow pans and deliberate framing to mirror the formality of the legal process. The angles shift depending on who holds the power in a given scene. When the antagonist, an influential figure in the legal world, is speaking, the camera angles often position him slightly above eye level, making him appear more dominant. Conversely, Carter, the protagonist, is frequently framed in tighter, lower shots, emphasizing his struggle against forces much larger than himself. This careful use of perspective extends beyond the courtroom. In moments of revelation or emotional turmoil, the cinematography takes a more unsteady, almost documentary-like approach, using handheld cameras that subtly shake with the intensity of the moment. One particularly gripping sequence follows Carter as he pieces together a crucial bit of evidence in a late-night montage. The camera moves erratically, mirroring his frantic thought process, switching between extreme close-ups of documents, blurred city lights outside his window, and sweat forming on his brow. It's a technique that makes the audience feel like they are right there with him, experiencing his desperation and determination firsthand. Lighting plays an equally important role in the film's storytelling. The use of chiaroscuro, high-contrast lighting, dominates the film's aesthetic, with bright light often used to symbolize truth and shadowy environments representing deception and corruption. The prosecutor's office starts off as a well-lit, open space, reflecting Carter's initial confidence in the case. But as the plot thickens, those same spaces become darker, with blinds casting prison-like shadows across his desk, emphasizing his growing entrapment in a system he no longer fully trusts. The courtroom itself is often bathed in cold, sterile lighting, reinforcing the notion that justice is not always warm or comforting. It is a battlefield, where logic and manipulation clash in an unforgiving arena. Editing plays a crucial role in controlling the film's pacing, keeping the audience engaged without losing the weight of the drama. The courtroom scenes are a masterclass in controlled tension, with editing that reflects the rhythm of legal debates. When Carter is delivering a powerful argument, the cuts are slow and deliberate, allowing the audience to absorb his words and the gravity of his points. However, when objections fly and opposing counsel interrupts, the editing shifts into rapid cuts, building tension and making the viewer feel the pressure of the moment. Outside of the courtroom, the editing style varies depending on the emotional intensity of the scene. In moments of reflection, long takes dominate, allowing the camera to linger on Carter's expressions and inner conflict. During moments of danger, such as when Carter realizes he is being followed by unknown figures, the cuts become faster, disorienting the audience and putting them in his paranoid mindset. A particularly intense sequence in the film features a montage of legal research, late-night phone calls, and tense meetings, all cut together with increasing speed as the stakes rise, creating a sense of urgency that keeps the audience on edge. Sound design is another pillar of the film's immersive experience. From the very first scene, the film's use of ambient noise sets the tone. The opening sequence, featuring Carter walking through the courthouse halls, is filled with subtle but telling sounds, shuffling papers, murmured conversations, the distant echoes of a gavel striking. These details make the setting feel alive and authentic. As the film progresses, silence itself becomes a tool. Some of the most intense moments are marked by an eerie stillness, where the absence of sound forces the audience to focus entirely on the tension unfolding on screen. The musical score, composed by a renowned maestro known for his ability to blend classical and modern tones, plays a critical role in shaping the film's atmosphere. The score is largely orchestral, with swelling strings that heighten the drama, but it also incorporates subtle electronic elements during moments of unease, adding an undercurrent of tension that the audience may not even consciously register. One of the most striking uses of music comes in a scene where Carter delivers his final argument. The music begins as a barely audible hum, gradually building in intensity as his speech reaches its climax. By the time he lands his final words, the music swells into a full, triumphant crescendo, making the moment all the more powerful. The film's sound also plays with contrast. A particularly effective example is in a pivotal confrontation between Carter and the antagonist in a dimly lit parking garage. Instead of using a dramatic score, the scene is filled only with natural sounds: the echo of footsteps, the distant hum of a car engine, the faint rustling of wind. This absence of music forces the audience to hang on to every word, making the tension feel even more suffocating. Beyond technique, The Prosecutor also made waves in its box office performance. Despite being a legal thriller, a genre that sometimes struggles to compete against high-budget action films, it performed exceptionally well, thanks in large part to its gripping narrative and word-of-mouth buzz. Its opening weekend saw a strong turnout, with audiences drawn in by both the lead actor's star power and the promise of an intelligent, thought-provoking thriller. Critical reception played a major role in sustaining the film's success. Early reviews praised its tightly woven plot, compelling performances, and expert craftsmanship. Many compared it to classic courtroom dramas while noting its modern, socially relevant themes. The film's layered storytelling led to repeat viewings, with audiences returning to catch subtle details they may have missed the first time. Internationally, The Prosecutor performed surprisingly well in markets where legal dramas are not traditionally dominant. Its themes of corruption, power, and moral dilemmas resonated with audiences across cultures, proving that its story was universal in its impact. The film's success led to discussions about potential award nominations, with critics particularly highlighting the performances and screenplay. Merchandising for the film took an unconventional route, focusing not on traditional collectibles, but on literature. A companion book was released, detailing the real-life legal cases that inspired the story, as well as insights from the screenwriter about the challenges of crafting an authentic courtroom drama. This approach helped deepen audience engagement, allowing fans to explore the themes of the film beyond the screen. One of the most unexpected effects of the film's success was its impact on real-world discussions about legal ethics. Several law schools used scenes from the movie as case studies in their classes, analyzing the moral and legal dilemmas presented. Legal professionals debated the accuracy of certain courtroom tactics, while others praised the film for shedding light on the flaws and strengths of the justice system. In the end, The Prosecutor was not just a film. It was an experience shaped by masterful filmmaking techniques, a gripping narrative, and performances that left a lasting impression. The success of The Prosecutor, 2024, is deeply rooted in its remarkable cast, whose performances bring the courtroom drama to life with an intensity that grips audiences from start to finish. The film's lead, a celebrated actor known for his transformative roles, delivers a powerhouse performance as Carter, the relentless prosecutor whose moral compass is tested at every turn. His portrayal is nuanced, capturing both the confidence of a seasoned legal mind and the vulnerability of a man wrestling with the weight of truth and justice. Audiences have praised his ability to convey emotion through the smallest gestures, a lingering glance, a clenched jaw, the hesitation before delivering a final statement in court. It's a performance that feels raw and lived in, making Carter one of the most compelling legal protagonists in recent film history. Opposite him stands the antagonist, played by an actor who has made a name for himself portraying complex villains. His role in The Prosecutor is no exception. His character is not the kind of villain who shouts or makes grand, menacing gestures. Instead, his menace lies in his quiet confidence, his ability to manipulate without raising his voice. His performance is chillingly understated, making him an opponent audiences love to hate. In interviews, he admitted that playing the role was both exhilarating and exhausting, as he had to tap into the mindset of someone who truly believes they are above the law. He revealed that he spent months studying high-profile corruption cases, watching courtroom footage, and even shadowing real-life defense attorneys to understand how they maneuver within the legal system. The supporting cast is just as crucial to the film's success. The actress who plays Carter's closest confidant, a determined journalist digging into the same case, brings both warmth and ferocity to the role. She is the emotional anchor in Carter's life, reminding him of what's truly at stake beyond the legal battle. Her scenes with him are some of the most emotionally charged, especially during moments when she challenges him to see beyond the black-and-white world of the law. Audiences and critics alike have praised her chemistry with the lead, with many calling their dynamic one of the film's unexpected highlights. Another standout performance comes from the actor playing Carter's mentor, a seasoned lawyer who has seen it all and serves as both a guiding force and a cautionary tale. His character delivers some of the film's most thought-provoking lines, and his presence adds weight to Carter's journey. The actor, a veteran of the industry, has played legal roles before, but in interviews, he described this one as his most challenging yet. He explained that the script required him to balance wisdom with regret, portraying a man who understands the game of law but has lost his belief in justice. His performance is subtle yet deeply affecting, making every scene he appears in feel like a lesson in acting. One of the most intriguing aspects of the casting process was how each actor approached their roles. The director, known for his immersive methods, encouraged the cast to spend time in real courtrooms, observing trials and speaking with legal professionals. The actors shared stories of sitting in the back of courtrooms, taking notes on how real prosecutors and defense attorneys carried themselves, how they handled pressure, and how they built their arguments. This first-hand research paid off, making their performances feel grounded and authentic. Behind the scenes, the cast formed a close-knit bond, despite the intense subject matter of the film. In interviews, they spoke about how they balanced the heaviness of the story with moments of levity on set. The lead actor revealed that, between takes, they would often joke about courtroom cliches or improvise humorous legal arguments just to break the tension. The actress playing the journalist shared that, during long night shoots, the cast would huddle together over coffee, discussing everything from legal ethics to their favorite legal dramas. These moments of camaraderie translated onto the screen, making the relationships between the characters feel even more genuine. When the film premiered, the cast was met with overwhelming praise. At the first screening, the audience sat in rapt silence, absorbing every twist and turn. As the credits rolled, there was a beat of stunned quiet before the room erupted into applause. The cast later described the experience as one of the most gratifying moments of their careers. Seeing the audience react in real time, hearing gasps at the shocking reveals and sighs of relief at moments of triumph, confirmed that they had created something truly special. Critics were just as enthusiastic, with many singling out the performances as the film's greatest strength. Reviews highlighted how the actors brought depth to roles that could have easily fallen into cliches. The lead was praised for his ability to carry the emotional weight of the film, while the supporting cast was recognized for adding layers of complexity to the narrative. The film quickly became a topic of discussion among cinephiles and casual moviegoers alike, with debates over the morality of certain characters and the realism of the courtroom scenes. Audience reviews were particularly glowing, with many viewers expressing their appreciation for the film's realism and emotional impact. Some shared personal stories about working in the legal field and how the movie resonated with their own experiences. Lawyers and law students took to online forums to break down the film's legal arguments, discussing which aspects were accurate and which were dramatized for cinematic effect. The attention to detail in the performances was a recurring theme in audience reactions, with viewers pointing out small but significant gestures, like the way the lead actor would subtly tap his pen against the table when deep in thought, or how the antagonist's smile never quite reached his eyes. Social media played a huge role in the film's success, with discussions and fan theories spreading rapidly. Some viewers dissected the film's subtext, drawing parallels to real-world legal cases, while others focused on the performances, creating highlight reels of the most powerful moments. The film's final scene, in particular, became a major talking point, with fans analyzing every detail and debating its implications. In response to the overwhelming audience engagement, the cast participated in multiple Q&A sessions, both online and at live events. They answered questions about their preparation for the roles, the challenges of filming courtroom scenes, and their thoughts on the film's moral dilemmas. One of the most frequently asked questions was about the film's ambiguous ending. The lead actor admitted that even he wasn't entirely sure of the correct interpretation, but he believed that was the point. The film was meant to leave audiences questioning, thinking, and discussing long after it ended. Beyond the initial release, the film continued to gain traction through word of mouth, leading to repeat viewings and further analysis. Some audiences returned to catch subtle details they missed the first time, while others introduced the film to friends and family, eager to see their reactions. It became one of those rare films that not only entertained but also sparked meaningful conversations about justice, corruption, and the power of truth. As award season approached, The Prosecutor was at the center of speculation. Many predicted nominations for Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Screenplay, with some even suggesting that the film had the potential to take home the top prize. Whether or not it won, one thing was certain: the performances had left an indelible mark on audiences and critics alike. At its core, The Prosecutor was not just a film about the legal system. It was a showcase of exceptional acting, where every performer brought their character to life with depth and authenticity. The cast's dedication, both in their research and in their on-screen chemistry, elevated the film beyond a standard courtroom drama, making it a gripping, thought-provoking experience. And judging by the audience response, it's a film that will be remembered and discussed for years to come. The Prosecutor, 2024, is more than just a courtroom drama. It is a cinematic powerhouse that grips the audience from its opening moments and refuses to let go until the final frame. Through its intricate storytelling, deeply layered characters, and masterful filmmaking techniques, the film delivers an experience that lingers long after the credits roll. It is a movie that does not just entertain but challenges its viewers, forcing them to confront questions of justice, morality, and the true cost of uncovering the truth. From the very beginning, we were drawn into the world of Carter, the relentless prosecutor whose quest for justice leads him down a path filled with deception, betrayal, and impossible choices. We watched as he navigated the complexities of the legal system, encountering formidable adversaries, unexpected allies, and moral dilemmas that tested his very beliefs. His story was not just about winning a case. It was about uncovering the hidden forces pulling the strings, revealing the corruption buried beneath the surface, and determining whether justice could ever truly be served in a world driven by power and influence. We explored the gripping plot, breaking down each key event that led Carter closer to the truth while pushing him further into danger. The film's first half built tension with carefully woven suspense, courtroom battles, and a growing sense that something much larger was at play. And as the story unfolded, the stakes only grew higher, culminating in shocking revelations, intense confrontations, and a final act that left audiences on the edge of their seats. The twists were not just for shock value. They were rooted in the film's deeper themes, reflecting the real-world complexities of truth and justice. The characters were at the heart of the film's emotional impact. Carter was a protagonist unlike any other, flawed yet driven, passionate yet haunted. His journey was made all the more compelling by the people around him: the ruthless antagonist who embodied corruption at its most insidious, the journalist whose relentless pursuit of the truth mirrored Carter's own struggles, and the mentor who served as both a guiding force and a cautionary figure. Each character brought a different perspective, adding depth to the narrative and forcing Carter, and the audience, to question what justice truly means. Beyond its gripping plot and compelling characters, The Prosecutor excelled in its technical execution. The cinematography, with its sharp contrasts and dramatic framing, mirrored the tension of the courtroom, while the use of lighting and color symbolized the shifting power dynamics at play. The editing kept the narrative tight, ensuring that every scene propelled the story forward, while the sound design heightened the emotional weight of each moment. Every detail, from the precise pacing of the dialogue to the strategic use of silence, contributed to the film's immersive experience. And then there were the behind-the-scenes stories, the fascinating insights into the filmmaking process that revealed just how much dedication went into bringing this story to life. The cast's commitment to authenticity, spending time in real courtrooms and shadowing legal professionals, added a level of realism that set the film apart from others in the genre. The director's meticulous attention to detail, the challenges faced during production, and the spontaneous moments on set that shaped some of the film's most powerful scenes all added to the magic of The Prosecutor. We also delved into the film's deeper themes and symbolism, uncovering the layers of meaning woven throughout the narrative. The battle between truth and power, the weight of moral responsibility, and the question of whether justice is ever truly attainable were all central to the story's impact. The film did not offer easy answers. It left room for interpretation, sparking discussions and debates among audiences about what it all truly meant. The use of recurring symbols, from the ever-present courtroom shadows to the smallest gestures of the characters, added richness to the storytelling, making each viewing a new opportunity to discover hidden details. Perhaps one of the most telling signs of the film's impact was its reception. The audience response was overwhelmingly positive, with viewers praising not just the performances but the way the film resonated with real-world legal struggles. Legal professionals dissected the accuracy of the courtroom scenes, movie enthusiasts analyzed the twists and turns, and casual viewers found themselves captivated by the raw emotion of the story. Social media buzzed with discussions, theories, and favorite moments, proving that The Prosecutor had struck a chord far beyond its initial release, and let's not forget the performances that brought the story to life. The cast's portrayal of their characters elevated the film beyond a typical legal thriller. The lead actor's transformation into Carter was nothing short of mesmerizing, capturing every nuance of a man torn between duty and personal conviction. The antagonist's chillingly controlled presence made for an unforgettable villain, while the supporting cast added depth and authenticity to every interaction. Interviews with the actors revealed just how much work went into these roles, from extensive research to the emotional challenges of embodying such morally complex characters. As we close this deep dive into The Prosecutor, one thing is clear. This is a film that will be remembered. It is not just another courtroom drama. It is a story that dares to challenge the audience, to make them question what they believe about justice, corruption, and the fine line between right and wrong. It is a testament to the power of cinema when storytelling is done right, when performances are at their peak, and when every element, writing, directing, acting, cinematography, comes together to create something truly unforgettable. If you've enjoyed this analysis and want to see more in-depth explorations of the best films, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're always diving into the most compelling movies, breaking down their hidden layers, and uncovering what makes them great. And don't forget to give this video a like. It really helps us out and lets us know you want more content like this. What did you think of The Prosecutor? Were there moments that stood out to you? Twists that caught you off guard? Themes that resonated with you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your take on this incredible film. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the stories that move us, challenge us, and stay with us long after the screen goes dark. Even before its release, The Prosecutor was generating buzz, not just for its gripping story but for the incredible amount of work that had gone into its making. The dedication of the cast and crew, the attention to detail, and the willingness to embrace both planned and unplanned moments all contributed to a film that feels as real as it does thrilling. Every scene, every performance, every line of dialogue serves a purpose, drawing the audience into a world where justice is not just about law, but about power, perception, and the very nature of truth itself. The world of The Prosecutor, 2024, is one of precision, tension, and hidden truths, reflected not only in the characters and story but also in the very fabric of its setting and cinematic elements. Every location, every shadow, and every flickering light has been carefully designed to serve the film's gripping narrative, pulling the audience deeper into its world. The film's atmosphere is not just created through words or performances but through a meticulously crafted visual language that heightens the suspense, enhances the realism, and ensures that every frame is charged with meaning. At the heart of the film's setting is the courthouse, a towering symbol of justice that, as the story unfolds, begins to feel more like a battleground. The filmmakers chose to use an actual historic courthouse rather than a studio-built set, ensuring that the weight of real-world history seeped into every scene. The architecture of the building, with its grand marble hallways and high ceilings, gives the impression of authority and permanence. But as Carter's case spirals out of control, those same halls begin to feel cold and uninviting, turning from a place of justice into a labyrinth of power plays and deception. The use of wide-angle shots in the early courtroom scenes makes the space feel vast, emphasizing Carter's initial confidence. However, as the trial progresses, the camera slowly tightens, focusing more on details: the sweat on a witness's forehead, the clenched jaw of a juror, subtly creating a sense of claustrophobia, as though the walls themselves are closing in. Beyond the courthouse, the city itself plays a crucial role in the film. Unlike many legal thrillers that take place in high-rise offices and polished boardrooms, The Prosecutor presents a grittier, more lived-in world. Carter's office, for instance, is a stark contrast to the pristine law firms typically depicted in Hollywood. His workspace is cluttered but functional, filled with old case files, half-drunk cups of coffee, and a single flickering desk lamp that casts long shadows across the room. This space serves as both a sanctuary and a trap, where Carter strategizes but also where he begins to realize just how deep the conspiracy runs. The lighting here is intentionally dim, with cool-toned blues and grays that add to the feeling of isolation. Even in moments of supposed quiet, the city outside hums with distant sirens and the occasional flicker of headlights through the blinds, reinforcing the idea that danger is never too far away. One of the most visually striking sequences in the film takes place during a late-night chase through a rain-soaked alleyway. The decision to shoot this scene practically, rather than relying on CGI rain, added an undeniable texture to the visuals. The water glistening on the pavement, the mist rising from sewer grates, and the way the neon lights of passing cars reflect off wet surfaces all contribute to a heightened sense of realism. The cinematographer used handheld cameras during this sequence, making the audience feel the immediacy of Carter's desperation. Each shaky movement and sudden shift in focus mirrors the chaos of the moment, making viewers feel as though they, too, are running for their lives. Color plays a significant role throughout the film, subtly guiding the audience's emotions. In the beginning, the color palette is neutral, relying on browns, grays, and muted blues, colors that suggest professionalism and order. But as the stakes rise, the colors shift. Warmer tones of orange and red start creeping into key scenes, signaling tension and danger. The final act, particularly the climactic courtroom showdown, is bathed in a mixture of deep shadows and stark white lighting, visually representing the clash between hidden corruption and the search for truth. Cinematography aside, sound design plays an equally crucial role in crafting the film's atmosphere. Unlike action-heavy thrillers where music dictates the pacing, the Prosecutor relies on subtle audio cues to build tension. The creak of a wooden chair, the ticking of a clock in an otherwise silent courtroom, the faint rustle of papers as a witness hesitates before answering, all these details contribute to an ever-present sense of unease. The score itself is minimalist, composed primarily of string arrangements that swell at just the right moments. But some of the most powerful scenes feature no music at all, relying solely on the weight of silence to let the drama unfold. Cinematography aside, sound design plays an equally crucial role in crafting the film's atmosphere. Unlike action-heavy thrillers where music dictates the pacing, the Prosecutor relies on subtle audio cues to build tension. The creak of a wooden chair, the ticking of a clock in an otherwise silent courtroom, the faint rustle of papers as a witness hesitates before answering, all these details contribute to an ever-present sense of unease. The score itself is minimalist, composed primarily of string arrangements that swell at just the right moments. But some of the most powerful scenes feature no music at all, relying solely on the weight of silence to let the drama unfold. A particularly chilling moment occurs when Carter enters his office late at night, only to realize that something is off. The filmmakers deliberately muted all background noise, no cars passing, no distant voices, just absolute, deafening silence. This absence of sound makes the viewer instinctively uneasy, as if they, too, are holding their breath, waiting for something to happen. When the silence is finally broken by the soft creak of a door hinge, it lands with the force of a gunshot. Lighting is another key component in defining the film's tone. Natural lighting is used whenever possible, grounding the film in realism. The courtroom, for instance, is illuminated by large windows, allowing natural daylight to shift throughout the course of the trial, subtly marking the passage of time. However, in moments of high tension, artificial lighting is used to create contrast. Overhead fluorescents that cast harsh shadows, single desk lamps that illuminate only half a face, emphasizing moral ambiguity. One of the most visually striking moments occurs during a nighttime interrogation scene, where the only light source is a flickering neon sign from outside. The pulsing red and blue glow washes over Carter's face, symbolizing both the danger he is in and the thin line he is walking between justice and corruption. The choice of locations outside of the courthouse also adds depth to the narrative. Rather than depicting Carter's home as a place of solace, the filmmakers made it just as visually unsettling as the rest of the film. His apartment is sparsely furnished, filled with case files and legal texts, reinforcing the idea that his work is his life. The lighting here is always slightly dim, casting long shadows across the walls, mirroring his inner turmoil. Even the simple act of pouring a drink at his kitchen counter feels heavy, as the camera lingers on his shaking hands and the quiet sound of ice cubes clinking against glass. But for all its meticulous cinematography and sound design, one of the most effective elements of The Prosecutor is its use of perspective. Many scenes are shot from Carter's point of view, placing the audience directly in his shoes. When he is being watched, we see the world through his paranoid gaze, glimpses of figures in reflections, shadows moving just out of sight. When he pieces together a crucial part of the case, the editing mimics the rush of realization, cutting rapidly between fragments of past conversations, photographs, and courtroom exchanges. These stylistic choices not only immerse the audience in the story but also make them feel the same anxiety, the same urgency that drives Carter forward. In the end, the cinematic elements of The Prosecutor are what transform it from a simple legal drama into an immersive, psychological experience. The way light shifts, the way silence lingers, the way the camera subtly tightens around Carter as his world collapses, all these details work in harmony to pull the viewer deeper into the film's world. By the time the credits roll, the audience has not just watched a story unfold, they've felt it, lived it, breathed it. And that, more than anything, is the mark of a film crafted with precision, intent, and undeniable artistry. The making of The Prosecutor, 2024, was just as intense, unpredictable, and gripping as the film itself. What began as a carefully planned production soon turned into a battle against time, unforeseen challenges, and the unpredictable nature of filmmaking. But through it all, the cast and crew remained resilient, their dedication to the story shining through in every frame. From unexpected on-set surprises to last-minute script changes and unforgettable bonding moments among the cast, the journey of bringing The Prosecutor to life was nothing short of extraordinary. One of the first surprises came even before filming officially began. The original courthouse location, carefully scouted for its grand architecture and atmospheric lighting, fell through just days before shooting was set to start. The production team scrambled to find an alternative that could capture the same imposing grandeur. After an exhaustive search, they secured a historic courthouse with even more character than the original choice. But there was a catch: it was still a functioning courthouse. This meant filming had to take place during odd hours, sometimes starting at midnight and stretching until sunrise, just to avoid disrupting real legal proceedings. These late-night shoots brought their own set of challenges. The cast often found themselves rehearsing in dimly lit hallways while exhausted lawyers and clerks walked past, too caught up in their own cases to pay much attention. Lead actor Daniel Whitaker, who plays Carter, admitted that spending so much time in an actual courthouse gave him an eerie sense of déjà vu when he wasn't filming. There were moments when I'd be walking down a hallway in the middle of the night, and I'd feel like I had stepped into an actual case instead of a film, he recalled. Despite the serious nature of the film, there was plenty of levity on set. One running joke among the cast revolved around the gavel used in the courtroom scenes. The prop master had sourced an authentic, heavy wooden gavel, but no one had expected just how loud it would be when slammed against the judge's bench. During one take, the actor playing the judge brought the gavel down with such force that it startled the entire courtroom, sending a stack of papers flying and making one of the extras visibly jump. The moment was so unexpectedly hilarious that the entire cast and crew burst into laughter, forcing a retake. From that point on, the gavel was swapped for a slightly quieter version, though the blooper reel still holds evidence of the original mishap. Another memorable moment occurred during an intense interrogation scene. The film's director, known for his meticulous attention to detail, wanted the atmosphere to feel suffocating, with beads of sweat visible on the actors' faces. The problem? It was the dead of winter, and the filming location was freezing. The crew resorted to heating up the room with multiple high-powered lights and even applied small dabs of glycerin to simulate sweat. However, the room became so warm that the actors started sweating for real, so much so that one of them wiped his forehead mid-take, smearing his carefully applied stage sweat and unintentionally ruining continuity. The scene had to be shot multiple times until they struck the right balance between realism and practicality. The camaraderie between the cast members was another highlight of the production. Whitaker and co-star Lisa Monroe, who plays a key witness, developed an especially strong friendship during the shoot. Since many of their scenes together involved heated courtroom exchanges, they made it a point to unwind between takes by playing chess in the break room. What started as a casual way to pass the time turned into an ongoing tournament, with crew members eventually keeping track of the wins and losses on a whiteboard. The chess battles became so competitive that they even delayed a scene once because Monroe insisted on finishing a game before stepping onto set. "It's funny," Monroe later said in an interview. "In the film, my character and Carter are always at odds. But behind the scenes, we were just two people fighting over a chessboard." The film's most challenging sequence to shoot was a high-stakes car chase through the city, where Carter is pursued by unknown assailants. Unlike typical Hollywood action sequences filled with CGI enhancements, the director wanted this scene to feel as raw and authentic as possible. Real stunt drivers were brought in to maneuver the vehicles through narrow alleyways, dodging pedestrians and narrowly missing oncoming traffic. The tension on set was palpable. Every take had to be perfect, as resetting for another attempt would require shutting down entire streets again. During one particularly nerve-wracking moment, a stunt car skidded too close to a parked vehicle, narrowly avoiding a collision. The stunt driver, a seasoned professional, pulled off a last-second maneuver that left the entire crew holding their breath. When the take was completed successfully, the set erupted into cheers, with Whitaker personally running over to high-five the driver. "That was the most exhilarating thing I've ever seen," he later admitted. But not all surprises on set were adrenaline-fueled. Some were simply bizarre. During an overnight shoot in an abandoned office building, strange noises began echoing through the empty hallways. Crew members initially brushed it off as the building settling, but as the sounds continued, doors creaking, faint whispers in the distance, some started to feel uneasy. It turned out that the location had a reputation for being haunted, with security guards refusing to patrol certain areas after dark.